Hi everyone! I'm gonna be using some products today I got during the Ulta 10x points day. I always set aside a little extra cash for that because I know I'm gonna use the points in the future. So I'm not gonna use everything I got in this video, but I'm just gonna I want to try out these two About Face products. I got the Fractal Glitter. I was interested in it because it said it doesn't actually have glitter in it, which of course I don't use glitters on my eyes anymore, but it said like glitter effect. And then the Fluid Eye Paint in purple. I was gonna get the one in white, literally sold out right from under my toes. I was kind of salty about it, but I definitely wanted to try the purple anyway, so I'll buy the white whenever it comes back in stock if I like this. So I'm gonna first use my lip balm. I'm just using my Dior Raspberry one. Dior recently had a 4x point promo on Sephora, so I did use that to get the lip oil in Mahogany was back in stock, and that's the one shade besides the peach one on Selfridges that I'm missing. I've been really liking the Dior lip balms all of a sudden, so I've just been using nothing but that for like the past 2 weeks, and I'm just like, wow, this is like really nice. Really like it. I'm going to use the MAC primer. It's a new favorite. I definitely really enjoy having it. I got it 40% off too, so that was nice. Maybe someday when my YouTube makes me more money, I'll buy things sooner so that I can get... Okay, so it's not as hydrating as my Dominique one, but I'm planning on using maybe just like kind of a moderately natural foundation, so that'll kind of compensate for the rest of it. And then I'm going to use my under eye primer. I have a video to film right after this one, so get in all that filming today. I'm going to do some color correcting with the Becca Under Eye Corrector. The version I got has the Smashbox Becca packaging. I don't have the OG Becca one. I don't think there was a formula change though, they just added more shades. Just brightens it up a little bit, and then I can use less concealer later. I'm going to use the LANCOME Teint Idole foundation. This is like a natural finish. I tried the Ultra Glow one and returned it. I'll make a little fun-sized makeup reviews, for lack of a better word, in the future. I do believe this foundation is too light for me. Yeah, this is one of those foundations I got because this is one of those foundations I buy where I just evidently cannot shade match myself. However, the coverage is light enough that I can kind of get away with it. See, it kind of it meshes in surprisingly well once you blend it out. I would say this is like a solid medium coverage. The reason I got it in this shade and I didn't step down was because the undertone is just perfect. And I would rather be too light but have the right undertone. I find a lot of the warm foundations that companies make in America are just too yellow on me. Obviously pink is gonna make me look gray. You can see it doesn't completely cover that really big pock mark I have on my face right now. But other than that, I feel like it does perfect my skin really nicely. It's just a really like solid foundation. I don't really feel like it like stands out in any way, but it does look really good and it does last a long time, and it just kind of works for like, I don't really know what I want my skin to look like, I just want it to look good. It kind of feels like a more like old school version of Luminous Silk or something. And sometimes I don't really want my foundation to be fancy. I'm going to conceal using the... I know this is like just at this point, who can even be surprised? I do really want to try the SHISEIDO stick concealer. I just haven't gotten around to it yet. I kind of wanted to try the CHANTECAILLE one, but it's so expensive. There were a couple ones I saw on Camera Ready Cosmetics that are more meant for like, you know, true makeup artists that I was interested in. And then there was also one from, not Suku, CLIO. There was one from CLIO I was interested in, but those are expensive, man. Sebastian is so big and he can squeeze under my desk, and it's so funny. Matcha, stop! Matcha, no! No matchas. I know, Matcha says hello. Hello! Matcha! She talks a lot, but she's really sweet. She just talks a lot. Some setting spray. I'm going to use the NARS Laguna bronzer. I don't actually think I've shown this on camera yet. I've used it actually quite a few times already. It's very firm, and so it goes on super nicely, super easily. It doesn't take off my base. I can stipple it on gently with this nice soft IT Cosmetics brush, and it goes on just so easily, and it blends out really well. You can see how light that is on me. So this is the 01 shade, so this shade did not exist. They used to have the 02, I think, is the shade that they first released as a limited edition, and then they added, I think, this shade, and then I think they added a 3 and a 4. I'll have to check. but I didn't get that shade when it was first released. I know it sold out really quickly. I didn't have any interest in it because it was just too warm, too orange. It really just kind of behaves like a powder, but it's still a cream, so it kind of has all the benefits of both, nice and matte. Again, when I make my little review video, I'll mention it more, but I've really been enjoying this. I used my $10 off coupon at Ulta, so I got it for $10 cheaper. Okay, so now I'm gonna powder my face before all of my talking makes me crease all over the place. I don't like saying it, but like, have you ever had moments where you just feel like, oh my god, I have wrinkles everywhere, I'm so old? Like, does anyone ever feel that way? Even if you know that it's technically not true, you just kind of feel like, oh, I feel old. Like, have I always had these wrinkles? Like, you know, you start kind of panicking over like you're aging. So let's powder all of this before we start freaking out about that. And I'm going to leave the center of my cheeks unpowdered in case I use liquid blush. See, this is why I don't really like having too many cream blushes, because I just kind of always instinctively want to powder my face. But I'm going to use the Pat McGrath under eye powder for under my eyes. It is just a really good under eye powder, and then I also really like to use it on the T-zone of my face. I know there's not much product in it, but I use it infrequently enough that gotta get my money's worth. I'm going to put on some eye primer. I'm going to use the Rare Beauty one. The CHANTECAILLE shadows I don't expect to be super pow pow bam bam, so I'm just gonna use this. This is kind of the first primer I default to when I'm first using a eyeshadow formula for the first time, a mainstream one anyways. I think CHANTECAILLE is independently owned, but I don't predict their shadows blowing me away. I am talking too much, and I have another video to film after this, so I'll try and keep it moving. I'm just using the NYX brow pencil. I'll probably like kind of speed through this in editing. Not my best shape, but it'll do for today. And then I'll use my brow flick and I'll kind of just draw in the little fronts. And then I found this at TJ Maxx the other day. The boy brow in black. I don't really have expectations, but I thought it'd be worth a try. It was literally like $8 at TJ Maxx. I was like, why not? I have really long brow hairs, so if I do spike them up, I have to trim them. I'm not gonna push them up too far today because I haven't trimmed them yet. I've been too lazy for the past like year and a half to use brow waxes, which is why I haven't bothered to trim them. Back when I used brow waxes and brow gels more often, I would always have to trim them or else they would just, you know, they would like be like that tall, you know? It definitely did thicken my brow hairs, like it made them look thicker, and they didn't like clump up or look like, you know, they still look fluffy at the ends. So I definitely think it's a nice subtle effect, especially with my other brow stuff on. I feel like the M1 was better for the price. I just haven't bought from M Cosmetics in a while because I do not know what Michelle Phan is up to currently, and it scares me a little bit. I kind of would have rather had the cool one over the warm one, but we'll try it. If I don't like it, then I guess I know it's not for me. I'm gonna bust out my natural hair brushes for this just so that I am using kind of just really sturdy bristles that can hold the pigment. However, I do expect I'll be using my fingers for a lot of these because there's only one matte in here. So let's go ahead and start off with this matte. Okay, well it went on really nicely. Opaque layer of pigment. Like it went on, but I don't feel like I actually put a powder on my eyelids. It just has such a thin consistency, so it didn't feel powdery. I'll blend it out in a second. I just am putting it on right now. Okay, I'm gonna switch to a fluffier brush so that I can apply it in a more soft blown out manner, and we're gonna see how well this shadow blends. This seems like the kind of eyeshadow where if you put down a sticky primer, it will stick a little bit too well, so maybe don't use a super sticky primer or set your primer beforehand, because I'm kind of seeing a line of definition where I initially applied it thickly that is not blending out super easily, but then what I applied with this fluffy brush is blending out. What's on this brush is applying and blending out pretty easily. It's just what I applied with the flat brush that is being more troublesome. Yeah, you can see on this eye, you can really see the harsh lines where it didn't blend out completely. So in the future when I apply it, I'm going to make sure I kind of layer it a little bit better and I don't smack it all on at once on top of unset primer. This shadow does not seem to do well with that. However, based on how easily it's blending when I apply it with a fluffy brush, it seems like fluffy brush is going to be the way to go. It feels non-drying on the eyelid. It feels very thin. I don't actually feel the product on my eyelid, especially as I'm blinking, which can sometimes happen with drier mattes that really suck the moisture out of your eyelid. I'm feeling none of that with this, which is one of the reasons I do tend to go for higher end eyeshadows. Like Natasha Denona kind of has a similar effect. I don't think this is as good as my Natasha Denona eyeshadows at first glance, considering that Natasha's eyeshadows can blend really easily regardless of whether you pack or blend first. But I don't think CHANTECAILLE is necessarily known for their eyeshadows. Yeah, but you can definitely see, especially on this eye, that there are parts where it applied heavier that I cannot get it to blend. There's definitely going to be kind of a preferred application method for this shadow. Trying to see if I can blend it out. I don't want to have to use a powder foundation or a setting powder to blend this out. I want to see if this shadow can work on its own. I mean, it looks okay from afar though. It is a really pretty shade of brown. It's very basic, of course. Okay, so now I'm gonna test out these shimmers, which is what I'm obviously most excited for. On first finger swatch, they all seem really pretty. They feel really smooth. So I think I'm going to take the blue one and I'm going to kind of stamp it across my eyelid, kind of maybe closer to my lash line. And then I'm debating which one would be better as an inner corner highlighter. I'm not sure. And I'm gonna use my finger for these. So on the eyelid, it has a super sparkly effect. I wonder if maybe CHANTECAILLE is kind of more liked for their shimmer formula, because this is super sparkly, very wet looking. It's a shimmer finish that I have definitely talked about multiple times in the past about how much I like. So it really just has the dewy effect. I like that a lot. The only downside to growing my nails out is that it becomes harder to use my fingers. I wonder if the Rowan shimmers look like this. And the shimmers don't feel thick at all. As I'm blinking and as my eyelids are blinking, I don't feel any particles. It feels really light. I feel no discomfort. Sometimes with these kinds of shimmers, if they're thicker, you can really feel them when you blink. I'm feeling none of that right now. It feels weightless. Like I really can't tell that I have product on my eyes. Okay, I'm gonna take a tiny brush and I'm going to take that top left shimmer and that's gonna go on my lower lash line as I planned. This one looked different on my finger. It looked a lot kind of less shiny and more smooth. Yeah, you can see here it's a lot more smooth, just really subdued, almost borders on satin. So to me this is kind of boring, but it is a very flattering finish. It hides a lot of texture and it does look good. I mean, I just find these kinds of finishes to be neither here nor there. I do really regret not being able to get the Giraffe Quad or Metal Lust. They both were very similar and I really would have loved to have been able to get at least one. And I had the chance to, but I had to pass and now they're both gone. It's a shame. Metal Lust probably would have been the best Tom Ford quad to choose, but whatever. Okay, and finally I'm gonna take this shade here. Pink in the camera, but it looks gold in front of me, like it flips here. So pink, gold, has a very nice flip to it. I don't know if it'll show on my inner corner, but we'll see. This is more glittery, like that blue metallic I applied earlier. This has that glittery finish to it. I'm gonna pull it up and over just because it's so pretty. It does apply really well with a brush. I'm not getting any sparkly fallout, so the application of these shadows has so far been really good, honestly. The matte was a little fussy, but these the two shimmers here are so pretty. I'm gonna put just a tiny bit here just to mesh it with everything. Okay, so that's what the eyes look like. It is really simple, but actually I really like it. I especially am super surprised at this blue metallic. It is just so glistening. It looks wet, but it feels like nothing. So now I know in the future if I buy a CHANTECAILLE quad, I'm at least not gonna dislike it. I don't see any visible creasing yet, so we'll see if it creases. I know shades like this glistening one are they feel so wet and creamy, they sometimes might wrinkle up a little bit on me. I don't usually have significant creasing problems because I don't have like a defined crease or anything, but sometimes like right around my little wrinkles, you know, my eyes get wrinkly with age. What can I say? Okay, so I'm going to put on some eyeliner. I'm going to use my CLIO Gelpresso Extreme in the shade 01. It's this nice black brown. I'm just gonna draw a little wing because the eye look is not super intense. And then the important part, of course, is to make sure I get that inner corner. It just really opens up my eyes. And now I'm going to, this side's a little bit messy, but I will just smooth it out with a brush. Okay, so now I want to try this eye paint, and I think I'll just, you know, this eye look is so simple, I can definitely afford to slip in something a little bit more on the graphic side. So I'm not so sure what I want to do yet, but we'll figure something out. It does seem to dry down kind of quickly. Oh, the other reason I didn't want to try the House Labs one is because they're also like so much more expensive than the About Face ones. But if I like this one, I may go back and get those just because I can imagine in the tube packaging they would last way longer. I hope that the House Labs one at least has preservatives in it. It does take some layering, but it seems it layers really easily. It's not as bright of a purple as I expected. I was hoping it'd be a little bit more bold and bright, so it doesn't show up as well as I thought it would. I'm gonna do a different shape on the other eye so that I don't have to try and be symmetrical, because that would just be my worst nightmare. I think I will at least get this in white. I just hate that I have to leave the tube open and dip back and forth into it. I feel like that's just how this tube is gonna dry out so fast if I have to keep using it that way. Maybe there's like some secret sauce in it that makes it last longer, we'll see. Pretty cool though. This is not as bright. My only problem is just the color I chose. I definitely was expecting this to be a brighter purple based on the promo pictures, and it's actually much more subdued than I thought it would be. It doesn't show up as well as I thought it would, so that's like my only problem with this. But that's not a formula criticism, that's just the shade that I picked, so I'll keep that in mind for next time. So I'm gonna put on some mascara. I'm gonna do that off camera, and then I'll be back to finish off my face. Okay, so this is gonna be all of my mascara on. I decided to go with brown lashes today because I just wanted the focus to be on my eyeshadow. So I used a combination of the Holika Holika mascara in brown, which I put it somewhere. I used this in brown. I feel like this does absolutely nothing because it's a lengthening mascara in brown, and I don't like Korean lengthening mascaras. If it's a Korean mascara and it says lengthening, they're not kidding. There is no volume, only length, and even then the length is debatable. And then I used the Clinique High Impact mascara in brown on the lower lashes, and I also used it on the roots of my lashes to try and add a little bit of volume. I find the more I let this age, the slightly better it gets. When I first got it, it was so wet that I felt like nothing was coming onto my lashes and it made no difference. I've had it probably now for like 4 months just letting it sit, and it's like a little bit better now, so if I just keep letting it sit, maybe it'll get better, but that's what I have on my lashes. So moving on, I did forget to use on camera the Fractal Eye Paint that I said I would use, so I ended up dotting it on my lower lash line on top of that CHANTECAILLE shade. Oh my goodness, I'm so blown away. It's so beautiful. It's very thick. It feels like a thick cream as opposed to a total liquid, so it blends out really well. It's opaque. It sets down. I'm in love, and I'm gonna get more shades of these. This is beautiful. I am very happy right now. The other thing I got in my 10x points haul was I got this Buxom blush, but it's not the shade that I thought it would be, so I'm not going to use it. I'll use it in a different video. Given that I didn't powder my face, I want to actually remember to use my cream blushes. I think I'm going to go for this from SHISEIDO. It's in Setsuko. It's discontinued now. I don't think you can get it anymore, which is a shame because the formula is really nice. It is a little bit finicky. I do find you do kind of have to use it properly, I guess. For some reason it doesn't like to be on top of powder, but it applies really well. I do prefer to use a brush with it. It's a whipped powder, so it's meant to be cream to powder, so in my opinion I can use a natural hair brush and it's completely fine. I am looking for a good synthetic brush to use this with. I find that this disturbs my base if I use too dense of a brush. Flower Nose is going to be releasing a Strawberry Rococo collection, and I have just about lost my mind over it, so I'm probably going to pick up the collection, and I'm definitely going to make sure I get those stippling brushes, and I'm going to test those on these. They are pretty pigmented too, but as you can see with this very loosely, with a bristle with these loosely packed hairs, it blends out really easily. I've definitely been really into getting face brushes that are more loosely arranged. Stippling brushes are kind of all the rage in China right now for blush, like really loose ones. I'm definitely into those right now, and I want to get more. All of my face brushes are more tightly packed, and I just find it applies too much sometimes, and especially for cream creams, it doesn't blend them out as easily. And that's just like, you know, off the stopper. I'm never gonna finish these before they dry out. There's just so much product in these. Okay, so that's what that's looking like. I am going to put on a little bit of highlighter just because my eyes are super sparkly. And I think I'm going to use I want to use a highlighter I haven't used on my channel yet, or like I haven't used often. I want to use one just to kind of give it its own chance to be shown off a little bit. Well, honestly, I feel like with my highlighters, I tend to use a pretty good variety, all things considered, honestly. So I'm just going to go ahead and use this one from Charlotte Tilbury, the Pillow Talk highlighter. I'm just going to use this just because this is probably one of the few high-end expensive highlighters that I actually paid full price for, so I should probably get my money's worth out of this. I'm gonna do a mix of the lightest two shades. And then I'm gonna use the white shade on my nose. And then I'll just dab a little bit on my chin. So now all that's left is lips. You can't get it anymore, it's the pencil formula. I find their new one, the Powerline one, to be more dry and less creamy like the pencil one, so I haven't gotten any more. I know I look like I have sausage lips right now, but it'll get better. I'm going to use the YSL Radical in 302, this shade here. It's a pretty basic brick red without being too dark. My look is warm toned, but the blue really, and the addition of the blue and the purple really kind of cooled things off, so I'll just use this brick red so that my lip is kind of more neutral. Kind of warm, but kind of not. And I don't apply like a super thick layer, I kind of pat it on gently. One more layer on the inside of my lips only. Now all that's left is to set my face before I forget. So I'm gonna use the Say translucent setting powder, and that'll give me a nice glow to my face. And I'm just going to brush this all over the rest of my face that didn't have powder on it. Got some powder in my eye. The Say powder I find has a really natural finish. It's just really pretty overall. I do really like it. It's the only thing really that I have any interest in trying from Say. Okay, one more spritz of setting spray. I did get my bangs trimmed, so they finally are a more appropriate length. I'm gonna take my hair down. Okay, so this is gonna be the finished look. It's super basic, but with a little hint of extraness in the form of the graphic liner edition, so I do really like it. I had a lot of fun with this. I like the CHANTECAILLE quad a lot more than I really think I should, but I do really appreciate it. The finish of the shimmery blue in particular really blew me away. So if other CHANTECAILLE quads have that same kind of glistening wet finish, then sign me up, because I'm a real sucker for that kind of stuff, which is why I'm really interested in some of the flower nose stuff. But the mattes, definitely I found the mattes to not like blend out super easily if you pack on too much at once, but that's easily fixed by just not putting on too much at once. Overall, for $75, I don't think it could ever be worth it, especially considering you can get a midi-sized palette from Natasha Denona and get much better quality mattes. Considering the whole luxury experience and the glistening shimmers, I might indulge. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this video, a fun little get ready with me. I'm going to start filming the next video after this, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye bye!